All right, so welcome everybody to our weekly event. Today's featured guest is going to be Herb Kulp. Herb is a business buyer and working with companies that are, trying to get bought and sold. Herb has a pretty unique history. He's worked in a metal fabrication business before, grew that, ended up selling it. So pretty good expertise in growing companies and selling them. So my name is George Mayfield, and with Frameworks Consortium, and what we do is we help companies to grow and scale through a program that we have with a C-suite mastermind. And our C-suite program, we work with businesses to do a deep analysis, find out where their gaps are, and then build a 3-year roadmap to help them to grow and scale according to what their strategy is. And then we help them on a month-to-month basis to using KPIs to make sure that their company is still on track. So we do this event once a week to help bring more resources to our clients and to our audience. So we welcome you all and thank you all for joining us today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Herb up to the stage here.
Excited to be here, George.
Thank you for being here. I've always appreciate it, and you've come on to our event, for several weeks now. So I appreciate the consistency. It's been great.
Yeah, excited to be here, and it's been very helpful to me. I've learned things from your show already. And like they say, good things happen over a cup of coffee.
Absolutely. I have my coffee here. So I didn't mention this in the intro. I was actually going to, but I'm actually filming this from the Crazy Water Hotel in Mineral Wells, Texas. So this is really cool. This building built in the 1800s, back whenever Crazy Water was the big thing, and Crazy Water is actually a big thing again now. They sell Mineral Wells Crazy Water in places all over, at least all over Texas. You'll see like there's different colored labels, but there's depending on how much mineral content is in that water, it's actually a pretty cool thing.
Oh wow! I'll look for that now.
And Mineral Wells, this is my hometown, and seeing it grow over the years has been phenomenal. So this is the Crazy Water Hotel, which is an active hotel. It's really nice here. And there's another one. It's called the Baker Hotel, which is just a little bit down the street here. And they're currently working on opening that up as well. So there's been a lot of restaurants, really good coffee shops like that one you can see over my shoulder here. But it's great. There's a lot of bustling business here. So Herb, with what you're doing, you may want to come out here.
Okay. I would love to.
So give us a little bit of a rundown. I know I did the intro, but maybe you want to expand on something.
Oh, absolutely. Before I go into that, George, I just wanted to thank you again for inviting me on your show. And I wanted to recommend George for all those watching in the future. George is a friend and colleague of mine that I really highly recommend his services for anyone that might be watching later and that's on the show today. And I would like this to be interactive for those active in the room to post your chats, ask questions as we speak. And,
absolutely.
So just a little brief background. Grew a architectural metal manufacturing company, as George mentioned. And since then, I've co-founded a apartment investor group where we buy and operate apartments here in the Dallas area, and also do the business consulting, as George mentioned, helping business owners prepare for investors or for sales for exiting your company. And that's a passion of mine simply because when I was growing the manufacturing company, I was looking for ways to grow, ways to expand. And it's my passion to help you do that.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit, Herb, about back in any of your businesses that you had, which one would you say has been the most difficult?
That's a great question. Most difficult? Manufacturing is a very intense process. If some of you may know, if you've been involved, there's lots of moving parts, that consistently move and have to come together at the right time.
Quite literally.
Literally, right. Right. But it was fun. It was exciting. I wouldn't mind doing, being involved in that some more in the future sometime. Right. But yeah, that's a really challenging thing sometimes when you run into, especially like cash flow issues, right? Growing too fast for a bootstrapped company.
Yeah.
You need to generate and bring the cash in to fund your growth, right? Unless you can, bring investors to help scale.
Now,
And
how did you overcome that? If that was one of the issues that you had with cash flow, and you that being like one of your first businesses, and you not knowing what you know now, how did you get through that?
that's a great question. How I got through it. I don't know if we ever did get through
Oh.
it. We kept growing, right?
Uh-huh.
And here's an interesting fact that I heard recently about Tesla. By the way, we think this multi-billion-dollar company, wow, they have all this cash, they must be able to just float through it. But no, if you really look into it, they said they're quarter to quarter, they're like there's a big cash deficit because they're shipping all these vehicles overseas and they're waiting for payment to be made. And they said
Yeah.
it's like a really tight spot every quarter. It's like they're starting over every quarter, in my words.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even just like a finished car and then they send it out to be sold. I mean, there's a gap there, but also before the car is even finished, they have to go buy supplies. So those supplies are sitting there in a warehouse, not even made into a car yet. And so the time that they have to buy, the what is it, aluminum that they're making these out of, tires, the lithium batteries and all that stuff. They've got to they can't just buy just a week's worth at a time, right? So they have to fill up a warehouse so they can build X amount of cars, hundreds of cars, and that's a big problem. One of my good friends in my network deals a lot with that. Helping companies that have that gap in their, when they have to pay money to when they get paid. There's a lot of services out there, and you and I can help people connect if those are some of the issues that they're dealing with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It has a lot to do with planning. And Henry Ford once said, thinking is the hardest part. That's why so few people do it. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of truth to that.
there really is. Yeah. Thinking
Yeah.
and taking action. But we're all entrepreneurs here, so we're
That's
doing it.
right.
I would like to think we have some more people that have just joined us. Hello, Dana, and hello, Nicholas. Nice to see you guys here. You could participate in the chat or the QA if you have any questions. QA would be better for questions if you have anything that you'd like for us to talk about. So another thing, Herb, when you're working in your business, and this may be again any business that you've worked in before or your business now, there's a risk. There's risk that you're working through, and how do you mitigate that risk, and how do you make sure that that risk is something that actually gives you an advantage?
I always like to look at three things. There's the most likely, and then there's the best case and worst case. And that's what I always do, think a few steps ahead and do our best at determining what's the worst case and the best case and the most likely case
Yeah.
for risk.
And if I could, I'd like to add to that. I do the same as well. I actually put together a matrix, and there's most likely, and it's low likely or high likely, but also what is the impact? Is it low impact or high impact? And so if something is low risk and low impact, like that might be something you don't even worry about, right? Maybe it's there, but probably not going to happen. But something that's like highly likely and a high impact, man, you better have a plan for something like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
What do you see with the companies that you're working with right now? What are you seeing is like one of the biggest risks that people are dealing with? I know that like right now the economy is kind of uncertain. We've got elections coming up. We've got, we're still dealing with COVID stuff. So what is the biggest risk that you're seeing like across the board?
Yeah, that's one of the things is human capital.
Hmm.
Human capital and being able to, onboard and retain top talent is a big deal, right? Because there's work from home, there's all these other, I guess, opportunities, expectations from team members. I
Yep.
would say that's one of the biggest things that we deal with.
Yeah. I think I've seen that too, especially in the service industry. What was typically a lower wage jobs, people are just not accepting that anymore, right? And a lot of businesses are struggling to find a way to make that work, to offer benefits or offer, certain perks or whatever, whether that's work from home or just paying them more money or giving them some benefits that people didn't see before. I think that's something that's a lot of businesses are struggling with. Um, yeah.
Now we have all the AI coming in, a lot of
Oh,
automation, a lot of tech, which is
yeah.
great. We just need to adjust with it.
But it also creates a lot of benefit too, right? Because, whether it's AI or even working from home, things like that, you've gotten more benefit because, I mean, here, like we're doing this show and I'm in, a small town in, West Texas right now. So like a lot of things have improved. I think the platform that we're using here came about because of COVID. People still wanted to network and to interact, and so this platform was born out of that. I was talking to somebody just yesterday who wants to start a tire company. Actually, here in Mineral Wells, he wants to start a tire company, and he was telling me that he went to a tire shop just to kind of do some research, and it was just, like a one or two bays, and there was just like one or two guys working there, and it was just it was really cheap, but there wasn't like an office there at all. The guy who would fix your tire would come out, and everything was through an app. So he wouldn't handle any money at all, and there were cameras. So the manager who owned this tire shop, they own multiple locations, but they manage it from one central location, probably just from home, and they watch all these sites through cameras, and so they can direct their employees on what to do and how to deal with any issues or things like that. But I mean, there's cameras all over the place. Payment was all electronic, so it's just a whole new business model, right? It's very unique.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to be more systems dependent than people dependent, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, in building those systems, I know you're an expert at that. So,
Oh, stop it.
building systems that we
Yeah.
follow so
Yeah.
they get the
Absolutely.
same service every time.
Consistency is key. Mhm.
That's right.
So, can you tell us, like, what advice would you give to a company that you're working with that's just trying to get more of a foothold in the market, right? So when you're in a business, you've always got to constantly think about your competitors, and there's a pie, and you get that slice of pie. People are trying to make that slice of pie a little bit bigger, right, or a lot of bit bigger. So
Yeah.
what advice would you give to companies that are struggling to get their foothold in the market?
That depends.
Hmm.
But here's one thing I do when planning ahead. So we'll look at the industry size, then we'll come down to your market size, and we'll look at like your location, the city, the industry size, local, and we'll look at competitors and see what they're doing and see what we're doing. And typically the owner, if it's a small business, the owner has a concept, a vision, and I've developed what I call a signature vision. I say developed. I've built it from other experts and built it out to where it's basically a 3-year plan, a vivid word picture of your business 3 years into the future. And typically, business owners or top leaders in businesses have uh, a vision, something
Mhm.
special about your company. And so to develop that out and to incorporate it into your hiring process and your marketing and your um, vendors and lenders and put it out there, and it's a live active document that we're executing on
Yeah.
every day, every week, updating.
Yeah. That's very
And
powerful.
that's where I start. Yeah, so planning is a big deal, but what's or maybe even bigger than planning is implementing your plan.
Yeah.
But first, it's a thought first. Then we take action on it and we
Mhm.
implement it. But it's I say it's always the owner or the CEO, the top leader in the organization to develop that vision. The shared vision is another name for that, and it's the team's responsibility to help develop it, to help carry it out.
Yeah.
So that's where I would start.
Yeah, and I see a lot of business owners who do that, or they'll have a leadership team, and they'll go off and create the strategy what they're going to do next year, and then they come back and they don't tell everybody else, right?
No,
Yeah,
no,
they've got their own plans, and as far as the employees know, it's just business as usual. But I mean, things have to change, right? Which means your employees need to know their roadmap, then the roadmap of the company, so that they know where they fit in, and they know where the company's going. And if you have employees that are vested in your company and trying to actually, keep their job and do well and make this like a long-term workplace for them, then they will get on board with that roadmap as well. So
yeah.
you have to share it with them.
I believe every employee in the company, down to the every employee, should know it as well as any other employee in the
Oh
company.
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest disconnect I see between an owner or a CEO in a company. I see the vision. I know where we're going, but
Uh,
does my team?
right.
Probably not as well as I do.
Yeah. And that's, they're never going to know it as well as, but you have to communicate at least the direction that you're going if you want everybody to be on board.
Right. That's right.
So we have some questions from the group here. One of them is, did you start your business to sell? Or was there a certain event that triggered the exit?
That's a great question. There actually was an event that triggered the exit. I wasn't necessarily ready to sell or trying to sell when I did, but actually, my two partners bought me out of the company, and that's what happened.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have another one here. How did you know it was the right time for you to sell?
Oh,
Kind of.
because I knew my partners
Uh,
and I knew that would probably be the best thing because I care about relationships with people, and
mhm.
that was a big deal to me. And so for the relationship, I made the choice that I did.
That's good. Yeah, sometimes, there's pros and cons with having partnership in a business, and I think a lot of times people rush into that. A lot of times it's because they have that fear of failure, and they have like imposter syndrome, and so
Yeah.
they think like, well, I need to bring somebody else in. And a lot of times it's like, well, maybe they're just a friend, or maybe they don't really know them that well, or as well as they think they do. And it can sometimes create some bad situations. But even in a good situation, as the company grows, people can grow apart, partnerships can grow apart. It's just like a marriage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. What advice would you give? I know we have Dana here as well, so she's probably dealt with some of this. But what advice would you give to somebody who is dealing with a situation where they have a partner and they're all not quite on the same page?
That depends. That can be difficult sometimes. But you do need to come up with a way to either work with it or else maybe separate. Maybe go do what you want to do if it's so different, right?
Right.
There's nothing wrong. Typically, there's nothing wrong with selling to the other partner or maybe doing something on your own.
Yeah. So how would you what advice would you give to business owners in making sure that they maintain a work-life balance?
Work-life balance. There we go. I don't know of any work-life balance myself.
I hear
I'm
so many entrepreneurs say that, they're just, I'm always working, I'm always working, I'm always working. But man, you've got to take a break. You've got to work on.
do planning. I think it's all about planning. I'm an all or none kind of guy, so I'm like
Mhm.
all in on this when I'm in on this, and
Yeah.
then I'm all in on family when I'm in on family, right? That and we plan times, and maybe that's a different definition, but yeah, planning. I think it's important to plan time when you can dedicate and you can spend that time,
Mm.
whether it's weekends, evenings, a few day vacation, whatever it is throughout the year. I think that's very important.
Yeah. So I have a question, and our group can even interact. Give a thumbs up if you agree, if you agree with this. But so I was listening to, I think it was actually Alex Hermosi, um, and Ben, you can probably tell me if this is true. But his wife runs, they work together on their business, and one of his suggestions was, have a business with your spouse. Now, I don't follow that advice. I have before. My wife now, she has her own business and I have my own business. And the great thing about that is I can talk to her at the end of the day about the things. Yeah, Ben is confirming. So I can talk to my wife at the end of the day, like my frustrations or whatever, and she can talk, and just listen, or give advice, and she's not biased, right? And then vice versa. I 100% I help her with her business, and I'm a processes guy, so I help her build processes and help her to market her business. But aside from that, I can also hear, we're telling each other stories at the end of the day. I talked to this client and this happened and this was a cool story and things like that. And I think it's really great because it's just like having a job. Like you get to come home and vent and celebrate, and it's a little bit different because you didn't have to do it together. So I'm wondering from our group, just throw something in the chat, I guess, and let me know. Like, what do you think? Do you think it's better to have your spouse, to be working with your spouse, or to absolutely not do that? Not for everyone, Ben says.
Yeah.
It can be beautiful, yeah.
My wife is not in the business with me. She's a homemaker. She takes care of the family. We have 5 kids. She's done an amazing job at taking care of the family and the household. And I go out and do the business and have the fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just like with any partnership, you make sure there's at least boundaries.
Yeah.
Dana says anything is possible if you process dynamics effectively. It'll give you clarity on what's best. I think absolutely.
I agree.
That's good, Dana.
That's
Awesome.
great.
Well, very good. If we have any other questions for Herb, just go ahead and drop that in the chat real quick. Herb, I thank you for being here with us, and It's always great. And then you're going to be talking about your event that you're doing in October. So take a few minutes and tell us about this event and how we can get tickets to that event and what we can expect to get out of it.
Absolutely. Would love to. October 12th, I'm hosting an event at the Hyatt Regency in Dallas. And you may have never met me, but have you ever gone to a seminar and been disappointed at the seminar? So if you would post in the chat what you would like to see at an event, a seminar, where basically all I want to get out of this seminar is to connect investors with business owners. That's what I want to do. That's what I wanted when I was operating a manufacturing company. And that's what I want now as an investor, putting deals together and investing in deals. That's what I want. So that's what I want out of the event, is to connect the investor with the business owners, operators. And that's what we'll do at this event.
That's a really good thing. Ben says making deals happen. Absolutely. So for this event, are you looking for who is the target? Who's the audience for this event, or is it just business owners, investors, or both?
Both, absolutely. A target age would be like 60 and up that own a business that are looking to exit, but it's all ages of people that are looking to launch a business and you want to structure it properly, or looking to buy a business and you want to go into it correctly. So you're set up for investors and you're set up to scale, right? With not more of your own time, right? We want to scale our business without consuming more of our own time. And it's
Absolutely.
possible. Yeah.
And I think that answers Dana's question. Who can we look for to tell about it? What sort of investors are you looking for this event?
Two types of investors. It's private individuals and private equity and bank lending, because
Okay.
they're all involved. Whether I purchase your company or someone else does, or invests in your company, typically there's three types of investors: private individuals, private equity, and of course commercial lending, bank lending. Yeah, so we still have a couple slots open for vendors. I'm for sponsors, and those range from $2,500 all the way up to $20,000. And the tickets are very small. We actually have a early bird special at 50% off currently, and that will end on July 8th.
That's a good deal.
So jump in there and make a minor investment to be in the group of investors and other business owners.
Yeah. Now, and for somebody who does events, I can tell anybody who's listening and considering potentially sponsoring, the earlier you do it, the more you get out of it, because you get on that train of getting getting out there. You get on the marketing material early, right? So you definitely want to do this sooner than later. Herb, where can people go to find out more information about your event?
ceosvision.com. And we have a link here. I can post it in the chat if not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll post that. And it's ceosvision.com.
CEOs with the S.
Yes. Let's see if I can figure out how to post it in the chat.
We'll post it in the chat in the networking. It's actually in the floor content in the networking platform. But we'll definitely put that in the comments or the description for the podcast, so people who are watching this later on or listening, definitely check that out. Any final words that you'd like to leave people with, Herb?
Oh, well, good luck with growing your business, and call George when you have a question or you need help growing your business. That's what I say.
All right. Thank you, Herb. I appreciate that.
Thanks,
okay, everybody. We'll see everybody over on the networking floor.